Sacrifice looks like the kind of movie that should be impossible to control, and that is both its greatest strength and its biggest problem. Romain Gavras throws celebrity culture, billionaire climate theater, apocalyptic panic, radical environmentalism, technology, religion, and absurd comedy into the same pressure cooker. Then lets Chris Evans, Anya Taylor-Joy, Vincent Cassel, Salma Hayek, and John Malkovich fight for space inside it. For a while, that chaos is exactly what makes the movie exciting. The problem is that Sacrifice eventually becomes so busy trying to say everything that it stops saying any one thing clearly. The film begins at an extravagant gala hosted by billionaire Breakin, played by Vincent Cassel. He is introducing a new technology that he believes could help solve the climate crisis, and even the origin of his inspiration sounds like something created for satire. His wife, played by Salma Hayek, loves pufferfish, and somehow that becomes part of the logic behind Breakin's latest attempt to save the planet. The event is designed to make him look visionary, generous, and important, which immediately gives the movie an easy target: wealthy people who turn global problems into branding opportunities. Chris Evans plays Mike Tyler, a disgraced actor hoping to use the gala as the first step toward a comeback. His career collapsed after a viral moment in which he publicly insisted he was not a hero and tore open his suit, and Evans seems to understand exactly how ridiculous this character needs to be. Mike is insecure, vain, desperate to be liked, and not especially intelligent, which makes him one of the funniest parts of the movie. His physical comedy and timing carry many of the early scenes, especially while the gala is still functioning as an absurd celebrity spectacle. Then the movie changes direction. Outside the event, a volcano erupts and the planet's geological systems begin to shift. At the same time, an armed group led by Joan, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, interrupts the gala because they believe the Earth itself has demanded 3 sacrifices within 2 days to prevent an extinction event. From that point forward, the movie stops being a satire about rich people pretending to save the world and becomes a hostage thriller, environmental parable, apocalyptic comedy, and philosophical argument all at once. That transition is where Sacrifice is at its best. The opening creates a surprisingly sharp contrast between people who believe technology can engineer humanity out of climate collapse and people who believe nature must be listened to rather than controlled. Breakin represents the first position. Joan represents something far more extreme. She and her followers are willing to treat environmental destruction almost like a spiritual command. And the movie initially seems interested in asking what happens when climate anxiety becomes faith. For a while, the absurdity works because the movie moves quickly. It attacks billionaire ego, celebrity redemption culture, performative philanthropy, and the strange desire to turn every crisis into a personal brand. Even Charlie XCX appears at the event, adding another layer of glamorous nonsense to a situation that is already becoming unstable. The jokes arrive fast, and Gavras seems perfectly comfortable letting the movie feel ridiculous as long as that ridiculousness has momentum behind it. But once Mike, Breakin, and Katie are taken captive, the momentum drops. Katie, played by Ambika Mod, should become a more important balancing force inside the story, but the film never seems to give her enough material. The same problem affects several characters. Sacrifice has a cast full of people who could carry entire movies by themselves. Yet many of them end up competing for attention inside a screenplay that is constantly introducing another idea, another conflict, or another tonal shift. The pacing suffers for the same reason. Sacrifice begins with strong forward movement, slows down, accelerates again, and then loses energy once more. By the final third, the story starts to feel longer than it should, not because nothing is happening, but because too many moving parts are competing for the same dramatic space. The movie keeps promising another escalation, yet the emotional investment becomes weaker as the structure grows more complicated. That is frustrating because the cast is genuinely strong. Evans is the standout when the movie allows him to be funny. His version of Mike Tyler works because he plays the character as someone who desperately wants to believe he still matters. He is ridiculous, but not completely empty. There is enough vulnerability underneath the vanity to make him more than a joke, and the film is at its most entertaining when it lets Evans lean into that contradiction. Anya Taylor-Joy gives Joan conviction, and that is essential. The character could easily become a parody of radical environmentalism, but Taylor-Joy plays her seriously enough that the danger feels real. The problem is that the screenplay does not always give Joan the depth needed to explain how belief became extremism. She is compelling to watch, but the movie seems more interested in what she represents than in who she actually is. Vincent Cassel has an easier job because Breakin' is supposed to be arrogant and irritating. He plays the billionaire with exactly the kind of self-importance the satire needs, making him feel like someone who genuinely believes every global crisis is waiting for his personal solution. Salma Hayek has much less to do as his wife, which feels like a missed opportunity considering how much the film is supposedly interested in the strange emotional world surrounding Breakin'. And yet, I cannot completely dismiss Sacrifice because there are moments when its messiness feels intentional. Gavras seems fascinated by the idea that modern crises are impossible to separate from spectacle. Billionaires sell salvation. Actors turn humiliation into personal branding. Extremists turn environmental collapse into ritual. Celebrities perform while the world literally shakes beneath them. In that sense, the movie's chaos may be part of the point. The problem is that intentional chaos still needs shape. By the end, Sacrifice feels less like a focused satire and more like several strong movies fighting inside the same body. There is a sharper comedy about celebrity culture hidden here. There is a darker thriller about eco-extremism. There is a philosophical drama about whether technology can save a planet that humanity keeps exploiting. Any one of those could have carried the story. Sacrifice tries to carry all of them. Sacrifice premiered at the 2025 Toronto International Film Festival, is scheduled to open on December 18th, the same day as Dune, Part 3, a release date collision already being jokingly called Dunesday. That timing is almost perfect for a movie this chaotic. It is entering theaters against one of the biggest films of the year while offering something far stranger, louder, and less predictable. I want to know what you think about this one. Does Sacrifice look like the kind of ambitious, messy satire that could become a cult favorite? Or does it seem like a movie trying to juggle too many ideas at once? Because the cast, concept, and opening all suggest something memorable. The real question is whether the chaos feels intentional enough to make the sacrifice worth it.